United Nations Secretary-General Ban Ki-moon warned kings, prime ministers and president on Thursday of growing political polarization and social inequalities and implored UN members to show greater tolerance and mutual respect to bring the world together.
In his keynote speech to the opening of the General Assembly's annual ministerial meeting, the UN chief told leaders from the 192 member nations that people everywhere were living in fear of losing their jobs, too many were caught in conflict, and we see a new politics at work, a politics of polarization.
We hear the language of hate, false divisions between them and us, those who insist on their way or no way. Amid such uncertainty, so much confusion of purpose, we naturally seek a moral compass. At the United Nations, we find the proper path in community, global cause, fair decisions, mutual responsibility for a destiny we share.
The meeting follows a three-day summit to promote the achievement of UN anti-poverty goals by 2015 that wrapped up late on Wednesday night. Many leaders who attended that summit remain in New York for the ministerial session and will shift gears to other world issues, from the continuing impact of the global financial crisis to extremism and nuclear proliferation. Thursday's session heard from US President Barack Obama in the morning. Exhorting world leaders to push past years of cynicism and pessimism, Obama challenged the countries of the United Nations to unite around Middle East peace efforts that he said could achieve agreement within a year to create an independent Palestine and a secure Israel. Obama, in a speech to the UN General Assembly, urged fellow world leaders to press forward with renewed determination in the quest for Middle East peace, an effort that he acknowledged had made only moderate progress. As Obama spoke, Israel's seat in the hall sat empty, but Palestinian President Mahmoud Abbas was present, listening to Obama through a translator's earphone. Obama's call for a Palestinian state drew a burst of applause from throughout the hall.
World leaders addressed 192 member nations at the United Nations General Assembly's annual ministerial meeting on Thursday.
Peruvian President Ellen Garcia Perez expressed concern for the threat of nuclear proliferation as a threat to the global community. This must be stopped at any price, Perez told the Assembly. However, there's also the matter of conventional weapons, because in practice it is conventional weapons which brings about the death and destruction that we see in many parts of the world. Kenyan President Mwai Kibaki said the country's biggest obstacle was the pursuit of political stability in the Somali region, which borders Kenya. Somalia's militant group Al-Shabaab has launched a series of attacks over the last month after declaring new war against the Somali government. There are 7,100 African Union peacekeepers stationed in Mogadishu that protect the small enclave where the weak UN-backed Somali government operates. Turning to the Middle East conflict, Turkish President Abdul Gül praised Obama's efforts to bridge peace talks between Israel and Palestinians. He expressed hope that this new engagement can take them closer to a viable and fair settlement. He also said that it would be very difficult to make progress towards permanent peace unless there's an end to the humanitarian tragedy in Gaza. Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych claimed that his country had finally achieved political stability. We have launched comprehensive economic and social reforms, he said. Georgian-Russian relations were at the forefront of President Mikhail Saakashvili's address to the General Assembly in New York on Thursday evening. He expressed concerns over continued Russian occupation and the desire to maintain safe borders and Georgian independence. The Democratic Republic of Congo also expressed growing concern for the safety and well-being of Congolese women within their borders. President Joseph Kabila Kabange addressed human rights violations and sexual violence being inflicted on women by militia groups. Taking to the UN podium, Iraq's President Jalal Talabani said that while progress had been made to create a more unified and democratic Iraq, the country still faces political challenges and threats. The United Nations General Assembly will conclude on September 29.
The U.S. delegation walked out of the UN speech of Iranian President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad in New York on Thursday after he said some had speculated that Americans were behind the September 11 terror attacks staged in an attempt to assure Israeli survival. He did not explain the logic of the statement, which he made as he attacked the U.S. wars in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Ahmadinejad said there were three theories about the September 11, 2001 attacks: that a powerful and complex terrorist group penetrated U.S. intelligence and defenses, that some segments within the U.S. government orchestrated the attack to reverse the declining American economy and its grips on the Middle East in order to also save the Zionist regime. The majority of the American people, as well as other nations and politicians, agree with this view. The American student walked out without listening to the third theory, that the attack was the work of a terrorist group, but the American government supported and took advantage of the situation. Mark Cornwall, spokesman of the U.S. mission to the world body, issued a statement within moments of Ahmadinejad's attack. Rather than representing the aspirations and goodwill of the Iranian people, he said, Mr. Ahmadinejad has yet again chosen to spout wild conspiracy theories and anti-Semitic slurs that are as aberrant and delusional as they are predictable. He briefly touched on the 4 sets of sanctions imposed on his country by the United Nations over Tehran's refusal to stop enriching uranium and to prove Iran was not trying to build an atomic bomb. Some members of the Security Council have equated nuclear energy with nuclear bombs, Ahmadinejad said. He accused the United States of building up its nuclear arsenal instead of dismantling it and reiterated his call for a nuclear-free world. The nuclear bomb is the worst inhuman weapon which must be totally eliminated. The Non-Proliferation Treaty prohibits its development and stockpiling and calls for nuclear disarmament, says the Iranian president.
Violence erupted late Thursday in Jerusalem when masked Palestinians hurled stones on Israeli police patrolling the area and burned tires in the streets, Jerusalem police said. The policemen retaliated with tear gas to disperse the crowd. Tensions continued to run high on Friday after the Israeli Navy shot dead a Palestinian fisherman for allegedly sailing out of the zone permitted to Gazans, the army and Palestinian medical officials said. The Israeli military said a fishing boat strayed from the limits Israeli has prescribed and was fired upon after ignoring warning shots. Mourners gathered in Gaza for the funeral of the fisherman on Friday. The death comes at a time of heightened tensions in the area as recently renewed Israeli-Palestinian peace talks now hinged on what Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu decides to do about a 10-month settlement moratorium that expires next week. Colombia's military killed the number 2 leader and top military strategist of the country's main rebel army in blistering bombardments of a major jungle camp. Officials announced on Thursday, saying rebel informants helped prepare the demoralizing shock to an already weakened insurgency. The death of George Briceño, also known as Mono Jojoy, is a huge setback for the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, which has been reeling from years of pressure by an increasingly effective U.S.-backed military. Defense Minister Rodrigo Rivero said the operation that killed Briceño targeted the mother of all FARC camps, a complex some 300 meters from end to end that included tunnels and a concrete bunker where the slain commander took refuge. Analysts predicted his loss could lead many rebels to give up the fight and might nudge the FARC to seek peace in earnest. Centos told reporters that at least 20 rebels were killed, including other senior insurgents whose identities were not disclosed pending fingerprints and DNA tests. Heavy fighting between militants and pro-government troops raged in several parts of Somalia's capital on Thursday, killing at least 21 people and wounding nearly 80, an official said. Mortar shells pounded northern and southern neighborhoods in Mogadishu as militants launched attack with rocket-propelled grenades and machine guns, according to a witness. In Mogadishu South, government soldiers and African Union peacekeepers tried to push insurgents back from a strategic road often used by government officials. Major Barigye Bahoku, a spokesperson for African Union peacekeeping force, said one AU soldier was killed and 2 wounded in the latest fighting. Somalia's militant group Al-Shabaab has launched a series of attacks over the last month after declaring a new war against the Somali government. There are 7,100 African Union peacekeepers stationed in Mogadishu that protect the small enclave where the weak UN-backed Somali government operates. Maldives Hotel and Trade Exhibition Fair concluded with applause from the public and business companies, according to the Maldives National Chamber of Commerce. Maldives Hotel and Trade Exhibition is the biggest fair held in Maldives for the entrepreneurs. Maldives National Chamber of Commerce stated that the fair was a big success and it was immediately applauded by the public and cooperative sector. The objective of fair is to connect the business associates under the roof and to pave way for distributors to obtain merchandise. And also the exhibition aimed at facilitating exhibitors to promote their products towards the dynamic tourism industry or towards the rapidly growing general trade sector in the Maldives. Companies from Dubai, Singapore, Sri Lanka, Indonesia and Thailand participated in this fair. Among the 65 stalls in the fair, Maldivian companies occupied 30 stalls. Since the exhibition started in 2001, this is the 9th time they organized this fair. The official trade fair of Maldives Chamber of Commerce and Industry, MNCCI, was organized and hosted by Artline Design Service.